there are a lot of stores. I think one thing that jumps out is 25 Tesco's within 6 miles, which I think is quite interesting. But there are a lot of stores in the area. Now that says to me, we've got more than enough competition. Why do we need more stores? What this slide does is it shows a build-up of the turnover for this new proposed store. Now all these figures are taken from ASDA's planning application. So these aren't our figures that we've made up. These are taken specifically from their planning application. Now their store is scheduled to take about £41 million a year, this new ASDA store. But of that 41 million, only 11 million is actually new turnover. Don't know where it's going to come from, but they say that that's additional turnover from people coming into the area, growth in the area. The other 30 million actually is going to come from all the stores that exist locally now. And the biggest one that's going to be hit is Sainsbury's across the road. Now, ASDA have said quite clearly that they're going to take nearly £12 million of Sainsbury's business. That's 40% of their business. So what we may be faced with is a situation where actually we get one brand new store coming in on a derelict site and one existing store closes and we've got a derelict site. Well, I don't think that's particularly a good idea. And the other one that's going to be badly hit is the Waitrose store at High Barnet. And the proposal there is that they're going to take £3 million of their turnover. Now actually it's not that big a store by comparison, and that amounts, according to ASDA's figures, to about 20% of Waitrose's turnover. Now any threat to the Waitrose at High Barnet actually threatens the whole of the spires, because the Waitrose there is the anchor tenant. So what we're seeing here is one store coming in, and actually it could decimate the other stores in the area. It's something that's really, really worrying for us. I'll move on now very quickly to flats. David read out in the ASDA presentation, how many flats they're going to have. What's clear from the feedback we've had from people in New Barnet is actually there are lots of 1 and 2 bedroom flats. And we've identified over 100 1 and 2 bedroom flats in the New Barnet area that are currently to let. There's loads of them. What there's a real shortage of is family accommodation, 3 and 4 bedroom homes. That's what is really needed in this area. And this scheme will not deliver a single house, and it will only deliver 49 3-bedroom flats. And while we're on the topic of flats, what about the quality of these flats? Now, interestingly, in ASDA's application, they say clearly the residential layout and presentation has been largely dictated by the position of the retail unit. Basically, what they've done is they fitted the flats around it. And what they're doing is hanging flats around the outside of the store. And that creates a number of problems. One is a lot of the flats have what they call single aspect. So they've only got windows on one side, so you only look out. And as part of that, there are issues to do with daylight and how much daylight comes into these flats. Now again, buried away in ASDA's planning application, there's a report which looks at how much daylight comes into those flats. And they've modelled it on a computer, and there is a guideline for daylight. It's not a strict rule, but it's a guideline of how much daylight should come into flats. When they modelled their scheme, well, what a surprise, actually 27 of the 50 windows within these flats, so 27 of the 50 flats that they looked at, failed the guideline for daylight coming into these flats. So what that says to me is what we're going to get is a load of dark, small, dingy flats. And they're going to be hard to let or sell. So what does that do? That just makes the market worse again. Now we talked very briefly about what we don't like about the ASDA scheme, but I think what's really important to understand is what people want. We've spent the last year engaging with the community in New Barnet. We've held meetings, we had a public exhibition, we were at the East Barnet Festival, we've run street stalls, we've run an online survey, we've done door-to-door research. We've actually spent a lot of time listening to what the community say they want. And they've told us some quite specific things of what they would like to see developed in New Barnet. And under 3 headings, they fall into the categories of improving traffic and transport. Well, that's a no-brainer because we know how bad the traffic is around here. Urban repair. A lot of people say, well, you know, we don't need new shops. What we really want is repairs to the existing shops and area that there is now. And the last thing is about community facilities. You know, there's very little to do for kids in the area, particularly older children. And they've said they would like to see things like swimming pools, sports centres, skate parks, these sorts of things. So what we've done is actually we've listened to what people have said, and we've thought about what could be done with the Gasworks site. Because one of the criticisms that ASDA have leveled, a number of people have leveled, is, well, you're just NIMBYs, you don't want a store built. Well, actually, we've got an alternative, and we think there are real alternatives for the Gasworks site, and that with a bit of imagination, they could have come up with a much, much better scheme. So what I'm going to do now is hand over to my colleagues who are actually going to take you through what we think could have been done with the Gasworks site.
Evening everyone. We've got a very brief presentation. It's actually a summary of a larger presentation that we're planning to give to council members and hopefully the planning department as well. But just to keep your level of interest going, we've just taken out some of the key parts of that. We've done some work on the Tesco Optech site as well as the Gasworks site. We're just going to present the Gasworks site options to you this evening. As John mentioned, there's a lot of work that's gone on the vision for New Barnet, which is very exciting and positive. Sort of summary of aspirations for improving our neighbourhood. And I think what we can't emphasise enough is how significant the Gasworks site is. It's 2.5 hectares right in the heart of New Barnet, and it's just an amazing site that provides some fantastic opportunities for us as a community, from a development perspective, from an amenity perspective as well. Just to get your bearings, we're about half a mile up in the air. That's New Barnet, and the site in question is here. This big building's actually been removed now, and the site effectively what's called remediated, so all the gunk and the rubbish has been removed. But significantly, you've got Victoria Park, which is languishing behind New Barnet. A lot of people have lived in New Barnet for years and don't know that it actually exists. And I think a great opportunity that we have is actually to try and put Victoria Park on the map, increase its potential from an amenity point of view for the community, and basically give it a front door to the heart of New Barnet. And that's really the focus of our work that we've been doing in a very brief period of time, I might add. This is a close-up view of the site. I think one distinctive thing between what we've come up with and what the ASDA site proposes, we've got over the curse of the red line boundary, which actually divides the site through here. And I'm actually gobsmacked that ASDA have come up with a scheme without actually thinking about some collaborative process with our planning authority in doing exchange land proposals. And our scheme is actually controversial from that point of view, and I'll come on to that. This is our concept plan, and I'll focus in on the detail of that. But you may actually get your bearings from that big black circular blob, which is actually the gas holder. But the distinctive thing is that we've gone over the red line boundary, and we are, dare I say, proposing to develop and take a lump out of the park, but at the same time actually provide some compensatory green space within what we call the ASDA site, and bring the park effectively further to the heart of New Barnet and make it more accessible down through here. We've